Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Talk of the Town. Again, this evening, we're short one member of our panel. Lynn Skirpon is out of town, and she left town because where she lives in this area, she had no power, so she went to a vacation place where she had power, so we're going to miss her again tonight. Of course, with me tonight is the president of the Chamber of Commerce, as you know, Len Lucci, also our city attorney, and the mayor, who is, as we've said before, is refiled for another couple of years, which bodes very well for the city of Bowie. The Mayor Fred Robinson is here, and I was going to start with a question of the mayor and ask him how the city fared during the earthquake, and then on top of that, Hurricane Irene. How are we doing?
Well, I'm just waiting for the frogs and the locusts to come next.
Comes in three.
That's right.
The earthquake was really surprising. I mean, I've never experienced an earthquake around here before, but I happened to be in City Hall when it shook, and the first shake was what was that about? And then it started shaking, so that was the time to get everybody out of the building. We fared reasonably well on that. I mean, there was some shakes across, people reported minor damage from that, but nothing significant. Irene is a different story. We anticipated the storm, we pre-positioned, city staff, and then we put the emergency operations center on a 24-hour cycle. So we had the city broken down in like little quadrants. So if trees fell across the road, we could get a crew out there, depending on what part of the city it was, fairly quickly, and at least get the debris off the roads to keep them open up. But and we've been trying to deal with BG&E. At one time, we had 8,000 subscribers without power. Now it's down to about 4,000, I think. So, and they may be still another couple more days getting done. But BJ took a big hit. Pepco took a hit. Was the one over in Northern Virginia, the old Dominion. So the southern part of the city and the eastern part of the city got hit hardest in terms of loss of power. But fortunately, I haven't heard any reports of injuries. A lot of challenges. People with medical devices that are now not functional and things like that. But so far, we seem to be going through the process. It's clearly a problem for people that have lost power, and for the last couple days, and unfortunately, I'm waiting now for this evening's briefing about where we are in terms of restoration. But when I look somebody in the face and tell them that maybe another day or two, it doesn't make them feel any better.
Oh, well, challenges like this bring people together. We had a driveway party in our street last night that lasted until very late, where everyone came together. Everybody brought something. We just sat in the driveway. We had a lantern, and we just had a great time. I brought people together to help out. A couple of people had generators. They offered to hook up people's refrigerators around the street. I mean, it brings people together who don't normally talk to each other in their normal routine. And you get brought together. You talk. There's a kinship there, and that's a good thing about Bowie.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Well, since you were involved there, the generators now, are they capable of keeping certainly the lights on, the refrigerator working? Is that the capacity these small generators have? The
small ones, some of the bigger ones can just keep the whole house going.
Oh, they can.
Yeah, I know a number of people that several years ago invested in the full house thing, and I had one family told me they spent $8,000 to put a new generator on. They've never used it. I don't know. Boy. I haven't checked with them to see if they use it this time or not. But
you got to be careful of those too, because if they're in enclosed spaces, that's carbon monoxide buildup. There've been a lot of tragedies.
Yeah. So you have to be outside your building, right? Yeah.
But I tell you, Len's right. Even some of the calls I've gotten, people are very anxious. Talked to one gentleman that had some serious challenges. He had a daughter with a newborn at his house, and his wife was ill, and he was scheduled for some surgery. But his entire conversation with me was, we got to get through this. He says he was having some trouble getting communication with BG&E, but no hostility towards, they just realized it was a challenge, and his challenge was more difficult than others. And then on the other hand, I've had some calls from people that want to move to head of the line, get me fixed and take care of, instead of everybody. So, you deal with all of them, but the vast, overwhelming percentage of the people are the kind that Len describes. We got a challenge, just pull through it.
And we'll see next May, late May, there might be some kind of a birth surge in Bowie. You never know.
You still are without power.
Right.
And what's their time sequence? When do they say they'd be able to?
By Friday evening.
Friday.
That's what they're
Friday
telling
evening.
everybody to cover themselves.
So if they get it
They're coming
earlier.
online now. Like I say, I'm expecting an update, within the next 30, 60 minutes where they are, for now. But they're chipping away at the outage. They said one time we had well over 8,000 houses out, and then it was down to 6, and now that's about 5, and so they're plugging along. But the scope of loss is not just Bowie. I mean, Anne Arundel's got 100,000 people out. And, it's just the scope is significant.
So we actually, in a way, we in Bowie have dodged the bullet.
I'm not going to use that.
No,
that
but
for anybody that's lost
seems,
power. Could have been a lot worse. Could have been
One of these days, one of these storms is going to pull up the Chesapeake, and we're going to have a lot of problems. But
Yeah.
and it almost happened this time.
Yeah, almost.
And then in the last minute, it verged to the west. I mean, to the east.
Yes.
But one of these days, that's going to happen.
Yeah, and that would be tough. The last big hurricane we had was Isabel, I guess, that did any damage. And Isabel seemed to me that it was certainly as tough to get through as this
There's been
one.
some rough ones. And then, of course, you look at all the things down on the southern coast, and, New Orleans still has not recovered from, its blasting, 4 or 5 years ago.
When this occurred a couple days ago, I was thinking to myself, well, at least our good friend, former delegate Joan Pitkin, is in Vermont for a month. She'll be away from all this.
Yeah.
Vermont got hit
I
hard.
was looking at some films up there. Some of those old classic covered bridges that have been up for like
sliding
200
into
years.
the river.
I just watched them going down the
Oh my
river.
gosh!
Saw that
Whole
picture.
town's flooded underwater.
Sad.
Up there.
And they came on, and the news, the 5 o'clock news went to Vermont, and it's roadways flooded, bridges down, right off where they were. They have to reconstruct so many bridges, and so many roads are unpassable. And Vermont really took a tremendous hit from Hurricane Irene. Why I say that we dodged the bullet. In my house in Kenilworth, I always said if it rains in Nebraska, my power would go out. And this time, what used to be, and this time I have to say, I had power probably all the way through, maybe a few minutes when I came right back on. So I was very lucky.
We've been kind of fortunate. It could have been a whole lot worse, but when you have 20-25% of the city out of power, for a period of time, even the most optimistic of our residents get a little testy, and everybody understands that.
A couple of decades ago, folks were saying it's unfair that all the hurricanes be named after women, and they alternate between men and women. But the damaging ones have still been the female names.
Yes. How about?
Well, they got a new storm circulating now.
I was going to say that there's a new storm out there.
Jose is the next one
turning
coming
around. It's too far for them to predict.
Well, we're going to call it. That would be called a hurricane.
Yeah, looks like the same direction it may be coming in. And of course, September is really the hurricane season for this area. So I guess we'll have to just keep our eyes on what's going on. Ocean City has made a comeback.
They dodged. They were anticipating serious damage. They got some damage, but it wasn't near that. Now the beach erosion problem will be something that they won't even be able to assess for another day or two, because the tide was up to the those concrete restraining walls at the edge of the boardwalk.
Yep. Boardwalk was loaded with sand, and they were blowing it back into the beach.
That's going to be the question, not only for for Maryland, but the New Jersey shore and all the way South Virginia shore. And there you're talking millions and millions of dollars.
Well, the the entrepreneurs, the small store owners in Ocean City have come online saying that this weekend that we just passed, the one that's coming up, is their biggest moneymaker of
sure.
the year. And they're hoping against hope and trying to bring the crowds back. They said 150,000 people evacuated. And then you see the pictures, there's hardly anyone
Well, they normally
there
have,
now.
on these kind of weekends down there, there'll be 250, 300,000 people in Ocean
Sure.
City. The other night, I guess it was Saturday night, they were down to like 300. Those were the hardcore people that decided to. But the city management, city leadership there, told everybody that when the winds got up to sustained 50 miles an hour, they were pulling all the public safety people out. So they encouraged everybody to leave, and I think overwhelmingly most people did. But a few of the old timers decided to live it out, I guess.
You know, you hear these estimates of economic loss from the whole storm, and they're widely divergent. And the reason why is because some are what is the actual loss, and others are what the insurance companies plan to compensate for. They're going to say, well,
That's true.
you have an active God exclusion, and up there in Vermont, you weren't planning on a hurricane, and no flood insurance, and sorry, and so they're going to just pay a small portion of the total loss.
And your counterpart up in New York City, Bloomberg, he actually evacuated the low-lying areas down in Brooklyn.
Well, he's
and
getting some
Manhattan.
criticism now about people suggesting he over. You know, it's easy to look after the storm went a different way, but I think he did the right thing. You know.
Oh, I do too.
But you got to look at worst case scenario and make judgments.
New Yorkers are a tough audience.
They really
They
are.
Yeah.
Really are.
You shut down the
Yes.
subway.
They're so active, and they say, why?
Of course, some of the people that wanted to use the subway, I'm not sure they knew what planet they were on, but
Yeah, one person said, "Are you evacuating per the mayor's order?" He says, "Well, if Mayor Bloomberg wants to take me with him when he goes to evacuate, I'll go with him. Otherwise, I'm staying here." He can evacuate all he wants.
yeah.
Sure.
Anyway. But well, like I say, we'll get through it, and you know, the reassuring thing is what Len said at opening the discussion. People in Bowie are just so resilient and so open to help each other out and try to take care of each other, and that's clearly what makes this such a great place to be.
Sure. Oh, I agree. What do you think now with we're starting the, within a month, I guess, campaign season for the council and the mayor?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I haven't heard of this couple of contests, or one contested race that I know of, but I think it'll take its normal course, and you know, wait and see what happens. But I think the city's been, you know, we've done fairly well over the last couple of years. We've been hit with some significant reductions in tax base because of the reductions in assessments. We've lost tons of our shared resources with the state. You know, a couple of $1 million a year just in highway user funds. Those are all big holes that we've had to fill, but so far we're all right. And you know, the humorous thing I've been telling people for the last couple of weeks is, what does Great Britain, France, Germany, Liechtenstein, and Bowie have in common?
What?
We all have a better credit rating than the United States government.
Oh, that's true. That's true for sure.
I think people should not mistake the lack of candidates as a lack of interest in the city. I mean, there were 25 people who applied for the last vacancy. People are on all the city committees. People get involved in the city. I think if there's a lack of candidates, it means that people are very happy with the way things are going.
Pleased the way things are
Well, I
going.
think, like I say, if
agree.
you look at some of the objective standards, you know, we got all the bills paid, money in the bank, and you know, if you look at some of the things we've added, and this is a very engaged community, and folks know what's going on.
And the population of Bowie is what,
We're
60,000?
we're a little under 60,000, and you know, when I remind people that by population we're now larger than 8 of Maryland's counties, it's hard to vision. You know, people that have been here for 50 years, that moved here with, you know, when Levitt first started opening up in the early 60s, when it was, you know, 15, 16,000 people that they came in, how the city has grown over the last